Okay, guys, hello. You're welcome back to my YouTube channel. Again, this is Esther Ayaba YouTube channel, and you're welcome to another episode of the interview. And we're having a special guest today. She's a friend, a family, and a sister. She is also grounded in the career professional world. So we brought her on the show today to come be a blessing to the viewers or to the younger ones or the young adults or whoever that is out there that need, the right path in life. So I'm not going to say too much. I will let her go ahead and introduce herself. And then after that, we can continue.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here on your channel, Sister Esther. It's a privilege and an honor to be here. So excited for that. And excited to share, what I know, what I've experienced, and hopefully your viewers are able to gain something from that. So like you said, my name is Eunice Osaigbovo. I am in Texas, and I have a husband and a little baby, just under 1 year now. And I started out my career thinking that I was going to be in the medical field, and that quickly transformed. I was in the corporate world and was a manager, a senior manager, and then I have now transitioned to becoming a financial coach. So just a little bit of experience that I'll share with you, my knowledge and what I've gained along the way. So that's a little bit about me.
So, as you guys can hear, she is a financial coach. And then also, after the end of this interview, if you guys have any questions or anything like that for her, you can just always comment it down below and she will drop her contact if you have any question. And then you can reach out to her privately. So, thank you so much again. It's an honor and also a privilege to also have you on my channel. Oh my God, how is channel? Okay, Esther. It is a privilege to have you on board, Mrs. Eunice. All right, so let's dive right into it. Question number one. When you hear the word career, it means different things to different people. So would you please explain to us, like in your own perspective, what does the word career, what does it mean? And then also explain it in the professional world as well.
Yeah, so when people talk about career, sometimes they mix it up with a job. So a job is something that you do to bring in an income. And a career is slightly different. It is a job or an opportunity that you are doing in order to, create more advancement or opportunity in the future. So it's a job with a purpose, or a job with a plan to advance or to move forward in the same line of business or the same company. And so that is what a career it is. It's more than a job. A job is, just, to bring in, what you need to survive. A career is a, trajectory where you are, planning to advance in that, field of business. And, it is, completely possible for you to have one career or more than one career. You want to kind of think of where you want to be, where you want to go, and build. Your job should be building on each other, right? To get from where you are to where you want to go. It is possible to have a career change, right? So to completely change your line of business or what you're planning to do in terms of your growth. That's absolutely fine, but you want to be careful to make sure that you're not just going from one thing to the other, right? You want it to make sense, to be comprehensive in your approach to how you're growing and how your jobs are building on each other.
I like how you just differentiated between, career and then a job. Thank you so much. Now that you explain what career means, can you please tell us, like, how can one choose the right career in life?
Yeah, so the most important, I would say, critical thing is to pray, right? You want to know how God is leading you in terms of where he wants you to go, what he wants you to do, who he wants you to become. That's really the anchor from which every other decision will kind of spring out. So you want to pray. You want to understand how God is leading you in this area. The second, probably most important thing I would say is look at your strengths. So what is it that you as a person are really, really good at? What do you excel in? And that is both your educational strengths. So, if you're really good at math, or you're really good at science, or you're really good at, you know, um, social studies, anything, right? What is your educational strengths? What do you thrive at in your education? And I would also say, look at your personality strengths. So what situations, types of scenarios are you really good at? Are you really good at talking to a lot of people? Are you really good at talking to people one-on-one? Are you really good at leadership? Are you really good at following a leader? All of those pieces, right? Your strengths make up, the best side of you, if you will. And if in your career, you should be looking to utilize the best sides of you. It's okay, not to be good at everything. If you are good at one thing and you put your mind to that one thing and you really hone the skills and the growth needed to be great and to be excellent at that one thing, then that is what you should go after. I'll give you kind of an example. So like if you are good at design and you know that you're good at leadership, you may say, I want to be an engineer, and you may say, I want to be a manager of engineers, right? One day. Or let's say you weren't good at math. You're still good at design. You're still good at leadership. Maybe you're not good at math. Maybe art, something with art is a way forward. So just to put that into a little bit of perspective, how you can be good at design and leadership and still go, 2 or 3 or 4 different ways with that as a career. And which is why, the most important thing is to pray about it, to know how God is leading you. But essentially, you want to take a look at your strengths and utilize those strengths. And I'll probably repeat this a couple of times, but the best thing that you can do for yourself, and the best way to grow and to be successful and to have a good career, is to do what you are good at. When people do what they are really good at, they tend to do it really, really well. They tend to be passionate about it. They tend to like it. They tend to enjoy it. And when it comes easy to you, you'll have no problem working above and beyond, and that will make you to shine.
When you were talking, you mentioned that, the first thing to do is to pray. Make sure that you pray. Now, what if I'm not a Christian? Because this is not just for only the Christians, it's for everybody, right? So how would you advise those people who are not Christian, who don't even know how to pray? How can they still choose the right path? Or must everybody pray first before they choose the right path?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So it is impossible to know tomorrow. It's impossible to know what's going to happen in the next year, what's going to happen in the next month, right? It's impossible to know, right? Going into 2020, nobody knew that COVID was going to hit, and look at how it changed the world in terms of technology and just so much, right? So if you're not a Christian, I mean, the best advice that I could give you is to take a look at that, your life in that way, and see if you, need to connect with God in that way, because there's no way for you to know the future, but God knows the future. And if you really just insist that you don't want to pray, you can still look at your strengths. It will just mean that you are going based off of what you know today. And that's just limited, right? There's only so much that you can think about and plan for and identify about yourself and about other people. And even someone who goes through that process, they know their strengths, they know what they're good at, they know how they thrive, and they, take the best option for them. That may not work out because you can't know tomorrow.
So, just as you said, if you're not a Christian, still go for what you're good at. That way you can excel in that. Thank you so much for that. Now, speaking about you going for what you like, right? In order for you to be able to excel. So, is it okay for a parent to choose a career for a child?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. So that's a very good question. And hopefully there are both parents and, young adults listening to this. Um, and I'll go back to this. People do best when they love what they're doing. And that's proven, in, the world of work. Everybody, that is worth their salt knows that people that love what they're doing, they do it best. And most oftentimes they're who are called out for excellence and for, making something of themselves, and for making it, being successful. And so, it's important that we start with what is this person's God-given talent. So like, what is it that's innate in them that they are just super good at? What do they enjoy doing? Usually what you enjoy is what you're good at, right? So that's why I'm kind of using those synonymously. And when you have that combination where you're really good at it and you enjoy doing it, you're just going to stand out because you're going to be better than most people. You're going to be more passionate than most people. You're going to be willing to go the extra mile than most people. You're going to be willing to, sacrifice more than most people for that thing because you like it and you are good at it. And so you keep doing it, right? So that's the key there. Now, a lot of parents, have oversight of their kids, and they oftentimes are observing their children and watching their children for what they think is best for that child. And it can be very good to have a parent guide their child, walk them through that process, helping them decide, helping them think through, helping them, put on their critical thinking, hat, and determine and go through the process, right, of figuring out what they want to study and what they want to do with their lives. But it can be very detrimental to a child if you force them, if they've made it clear that this is not what I'm good at, I don't like it, and, you keep pushing them towards that. Not to say that that person can't have a successful career in that area. It just means that they won't enjoy what they're doing, right? And most people who are not enjoying what they're doing, but they're doing it anyways, they run out of gas along the way. They run out of, energy and momentum and drive and thrill. Some people go into like depression and they're just like, this doesn't mean anything to me. I have no purpose, right? When you like and enjoy what you're doing, you feel as though you have a purpose, and that keeps you going. And so I would say, kind of in closing still to the, both parents and the children, if you all are praying together about this, if you all are discussing it openly, like there are options, there are ways for someone to do art and be successful. There are ways for someone to do engineering and be successful. As long as you're talking about it openly and discussing, concrete paths towards that success, with prayer, I believe that there is a right combination of parents guiding their children and children making the right decision that will help them, get into a good career. And again, remember that it's possible to get into a career and then switch along the way. And that's not a bad thing. In our day and age, people do that several times, right? They have several different careers. And, sometimes that can be to a benefit, right, to do that, but not like career hopping. Like I just do anything that comes, right? It has to be, methodical, thought out, planned out, and, done very wisely in order for it to be beneficial.
Thank you for that. I like how you said that it's okay for them to guide their son or guide their daughter, but then again, you cannot force them to be what to be what they want to be. And in as much as you're open to that child, for the child to make its own decision by them praying together. Also, I really like that. Thank you. So, Miss Eunice, I just want to ask you this real quick based on what you just said. In this era, right? Well, I don't know about you, but for me, I see so many youths, so many younger ones, when they go to college, they don't have a career. When they go to college, they're just like, not here and not there. And then you ask them, what are you doing? I don't know yet. I'm still trying to figure that out. Now, in this case, do you think, is that normal? Like, I mean, of course, I'm not sure if it's normal or not, but is it okay for one to go to college and not have a career and just go there 1 year, 2 year, just be doing just random courses before eventually choosing a path in life? Can you speak on
Yeah,
that, please?
sure. Yeah. So, I mean, I would say in our day and age, that's probably not okay. I don't see a scenario where that is a good and beneficial thing, right? And the reason why I say that is because education, especially in America, is very expensive, very expensive. Most people are taking out tons of student loans in order to be able to have a higher education. And I was for something else doing some numbers on this, and on average, people are coming out of college with I'm talking about undergrad, 4 years of an undergrad degree. They're coming out with as much debt as like a down payment on a house.
Yes,
And if you
correct.
think about, how much time it takes to pay that back and how much interest that's on it, it's a little bit ridiculous in terms of the way that ties somebody down financially. Most people are making about $400 payments and paying that back over 10 years. If you think about 10 years of somebody's life after they graduate from undergrad, we're not talking about a master's degree or a PhD or a doctorate or anything like that. We're just talking about undergrad, 10 years after. That is a huge financial commitment that you're making when you
Mhm.
go to those 4 years of school. And so going in, yes, you should have a plan. You should have an idea of what you want to do, what you want to accomplish, what you're there
Mhm.
for, what your grades need to be in order to get, where you want to go after that.
Right.
You want to be laser focused going in. And so it starts in high school, it starts in middle school, it starts with, parents giving their children opportunity and exposure to experience anything, any career that they possibly could. Let them feel it, let them touch it, let them experience it, let them, go to the places and, get, just try it out, right? To understand what it's in the world of work. And that often will start them on a path of thinking through what they want to do. And so by the time they get to high school, by the time they graduate from high school, they should have an idea of what they want to do. So if you're in that situation where you're in college and you just have no idea, um, I would say, go back to what we talked about. What are your strengths? What are the things that you're really good at? What are the things that you enjoy, that you love to do? And start to investigate, start to explore, start to, ask. You can call up, almost any organization, say, or someone from any organization, say, I would like to shadow you. Can I come and watch you work for a day? And there are people that are open and willing to that. I myself had to do that several times. And that gets you exposure to understand what it is that you potentially would want to do. And so I say, if you're in that situation, don't feel bad or guilty. Just make a real effort to begin to discover what it is that you should be doing with your career.
Now that they've chosen a path, or let's say there's someone who had chosen a career, right? Now, is it okay to deviate in the middle? So let's say that maybe I went into a career, I thought I had a passion for that, and then I got to the middle, and then I realized that no, this is not for me. I don't have any interest in what is being taught anymore, or it's too expensive, or for whatever reason. Would you advise, or what is your take on that?
It is okay to make a change in your career. If you're going on one career and you're like, wow, this is really not for me, or I've run out of gas, I don't have any more,
Oh, God.
energy or passion, energy or passion for this thing that I'm doing, it's absolutely okay to change. You want to make sure that you're thoughtful in your decision to change careers, right? That you are not just doing it on a whim. You're not just doing it because of a bad month at work or a bad year at work. You want to really make sure that what you're doing is, of no longer benefit to you or to your family. Maybe there's a family conflict. Whatever the situation is, you want to make sure that it's not just a seasonal thing or, a right now thing, but that, you really have a need or desire to change careers and be very thoughtful about that. And so it is okay to make that decision to change. A lot of career paths have different, areas of synergy or transferable skills. It's, for instance, it's okay to say, hey, I was in, nursing, but now I want to be in nursing education. So I want to teach nursing, right? That may take a little bit more or different education.
Mhm.
Not all the time does it take different education depending on what your career change is. But you could obviously see how becoming being a nurse and that career could easily help you in becoming a teacher of nursing, right? So there are ways to make sure that your transfer is utilizing the best parts of your transferable skill sets, or it is possible to completely change careers, right? So to say I want to do something that I have never been, my dream, let me say my dream is, I want to be a rock climber. I've never been a rock climber before, but that's what I want to do with my life. But you've been an engineer before that, right? So that may seem like just weird and out of the, impossible. But
Right,
if you think
completely
about it,
opposite.
yeah, completely opposite. But if you think about it, an engineer has to learn how to problem solve. If
Mm-hmm.
you're a rock climber and you get halfway up and you're like, okay, I'm missing, something to hang on, you have to figure out how to problem solve, right? So you can see how those skills that you build in problem solving over here will help you over here. So it is possible. And one last thing I'll say on this is that, there are people who have had some crazy, wild, switches of career, but God actually uses those pieces to then create a very unique path for that person, for that individual, for their life and for the world, right? At that time, where the world was at that time. So I would just say that, make sure you're doing it thoughtfully, make sure that you're praying about it, make sure that you have really thought about how your skills are going to transfer or what education you're going to need to bridge the gap so that you are transferring, switching successfully.
So the next question, Miss Eunice, is that does a career define one's success in life? And the reason why is because we see majority of all these rich people, most of them did not go to school. And I don't want to mention names, even in the music industry, and yet they are successful. So can you explain that, please? Does a career define one's success in life?
Very great question. And you're right. Like there are so many examples of people who are making it millionaires who did not have a higher education, right? And it kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier. This is so like against popular opinion, especially in the international community. But going back to what I was saying earlier, higher education is very expensive. It is very expensive. From someone who did 4.5 years of undergrad, who has a master's, it's very expensive, and it doesn't always pay off the way that people think that it will.
Yeah.
So you're like, oh, I'm going to go get an MBA, or oh, I'm going to go get, master's and PhD, and when I come out I plan to be making X 6 figures or whatever it is, and oftentimes it doesn't happen, or if it does happen, it doesn't happen right away, right? And there are other life things that come up that get in the way of, you making those six figures or making it to the extent that you want. And so it ends up not really balancing out your education versus what you make in return for that. And like I said, saying the foundation, going back to earlier, most on average, people are coming out with as much student loans as a down payment on a house. They're tied to that. They're paying, $10, $15, $20,000 in interest on average, right? There are people who go for, that's for bachelors. It's very ridiculous how, the things are structured in terms of, what you put into your education versus what you're getting out of it when you come back. Right. So the question is, right, does a career, or having that education and career define your success? And the answer is no. I mean, there are millionaires out there who never had a higher education. They decided to work smart, work hard, and take things small, step by step, little by little, work their way up the, corporate ladder, right? And eventually they are making maybe not, a ton amount more than me who's educated, but they don't have the baggage of the student loans. They don't have the baggage of the 10 years in debt, trying to get out of that debt and starting from scratch 10 years later. So that, that in itself should just, let people know that having that education career doesn't define your success. Of course, you can be successful if you have higher education. You can be successful if you don't have higher education. And really the center of it is making sure that you are choosing your degree wisely. So if you study, just for instance, if you study English, you're probably not going to come out of an undergrad making $100K a year. You're probably not going to come out of that making $50K a year, right? You may not. It depends on like where you are and what you plan to do with that. But you want to make sure that what you're going in to study is going to yield you, a good return. So if you're going to spend 4 years, spend the same 4 years as someone who did engineering, one is English, one is engineering, one is going to come out making, very small amount of money, and the other one is going to come out, pretty decently. So you want to think through what it is that you're studying, not saying that your money should drive everything, but saying that you should have a plan, of what your education is going to yield you, and do that with your eyes open, right? So that, you're not blindsided on the back end of that education. And also, you can, have a successful career regardless of what you do. So if you choose to do English as an undergrad, you can still have a successful career, but you want to make sure that you are working hard and become the very best at what it is you have decided and determined to do. Remember, we're talking about somebody who is really passionate about what they're doing, enjoys what they're doing, and they're really good at it. With that combination, if you're willing to work hard, you will go far, because people around you will say, ooh, this person, they're really passionate about this. They work really hard at this. Their quality of work is really, really good. And that is something that spreads and gets you the right connections, to the right people, the right places at the right time. And I'll just give you two scripture verses to back that. The Bible says in Proverbs 18, verse 16, that a man's gifts make room for him, and it brings him before great men. And then Proverbs 22, verse 29 says, see a man diligent in his business. He's going to stand before kings and not before mean men. And so you think about someone like Joseph, like he was not, I'm talking about Joseph in the Bible, like his career path was not inspiring, right? Like he was going down, he was getting demoted, but he was diligent, and people knew he was diligent. he worked hard, and people knew he worked hard. He was really good at what his skill was, what his gift was. He was really, really good at it. And that is what made room for him. That's what opened the door for him to get to the top of his career. So, it's important to make sure that, your success doesn't come from, just having a certain degree. It comes from you putting in effort and energy, investing in yourself, spending the time that it takes, sacrificing whatever it takes to be the best at what it is you've decided to do.
And honestly, what you said is very, very important. And one thing, I just remembered when I was in school, right? A few years back, a friend of mine, Amy, she wasn't in school. She didn't go to school till date. She did not go to school. And then she called me one day, because, we talk a lot. And then she called me one day and then she said, I have no idea why you are going to school. And that question, I'm like, what kind of question is that? And then she said, she saw my facial expression and then she was like, Esther, I am serious. Like, why are you going to school? What are you talking about? And then she was like, yes, I am serious. I see, I see majority of you go to school and then you study your butt off. And then I'm like, you have to go to school to be successful. You have to go to school to make it in life. And then she looked at one way and then she was like, no, Esther, you don't have to. A school does not define your success. Career does not define your success. I'm like, coming from someone that's your background and your cultural, environment and what you're used to, like you have to go to school. It's as if you don't go to school, you will never amount to anything in life, right? And so when she said that to me, I was like, that is not true. That is not true. You have to go to school to be somebody. And then she said, Esther, listen to me. I can never ever forget. She said, Esther, I'm not in school and I'm very proud of that. And I don't have a plan on going to school at all. And then she said, here's the logic. I can't forget that. She said, here's the logic. Okay, so you are in school, right? And I'm not in school. I said, yeah. Within me, I'm like, okay, what do you want to say? And then I was like, yeah. And then she said, okay, I got a job. I'm like, okay, you're in school. You're in your first year in college. I said, yeah. And on the job, in the professional world, or not so, I got promoted.
Yep.
You are in your second year in school.
Yep.
I got promoted again. You are in your third year in school.
Mm-hmm.
In the fourth year, I got promoted. Maybe I'm a manager also. And you are in your fourth year or you just graduated. Now, you're out of school, looking for a job, and I'm a manager. And you're coming under me. I said, go. And the African in me is like, God forbid in Jesus' name, I will never be under you. And then she looked at me like this. I said, well, what are you saying? What does this have to do with this? It is, this is. And then I was like, in the name of Jesus, I will not be under you. She said, Esther, calm down. This has nothing to do with Jesus. This is just reality of life. I am a manager and you're out of school looking for a job.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter whatever field you are in, but the point is I'm a manager. I'm making more money than you are. In fact, you're not even making any money. Rather, you went ahead to incur debt.
Yeah.
And then she said that is why you see a lot that they don't go to school because of the debt, school loans. So she said that is how it is. And then it takes you a long time for you to get a job. I am promoted again. Eventually, you find a job. I am promoted again. And now I am a big girl and I'm successful. And then I look at her like this. I said, Amy, her name is Amy. I said, Amy, the God that I serve, the African in me still will not let me calm down. I said, Amy, the God that I serve Once I get out of school, I will get a job, a very good job. I will make it in life. And in no time at all, I'll become a manager and I will not serve under you. And yet he said, Amen. I'm not saying that, you will serve under me. I just told, I just shared the reality of life. Fast forward to when I graduated from school. To get a job.
Yeah.
To get a job was so tough. And then I remember me calling her, hey girl, what's up? How you doing? Blah, blah, blah. And then I told her, and then she just looked at me and smiled and said, I told you. A career does not define your success. So I just shared that because of, the question, and also because of what you said, that a career does not. Now, again, family and friends, in no way, as Ms. Osaigbovo, I said that you shouldn't go to school to,
We're
to
not
have
career bashing. We're not school bashing or education bashing.
Right?
Yeah.
So we're not saying that you should not, go to school and have a good career. It's okay, but we're just saying that it doesn't define your success.
Yeah, it doesn't define you. And people can follow me for this, if they would like to. There are ways to go about getting the same education for, without student loans or, close to no student loans. So there's ways to go about it. I think we sometimes have just believed the lie that we have to do X, Y, and Z, and it doesn't matter, what debt, because you're going to get, you're going to be successful when you come out. And it's just, one does not predicate the other, right? So you don't have to go to school to be successful, and you don't have to be successful in, you don't have to, have a certain, job path in order to be successful. None of those things are, before you could have both. You could have all three. You could have, whatever way that you want to arrange it, right? It's possible to be successful. It doesn't have to be with a specific career path, like, I have to be a doctor. It doesn't have to be with a certain type of education. It doesn't have to be. So, again, we can, kind of go back and forth on that all day long. But yes, I completely agree with you that sometimes we've kind of, based on our culture, we kind of follow that, I have to, do this. And her example was very, 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 very real and practical. Sometimes we wonder why, some VPs and, CEOs are so young, and, it's because they came out of high school and started working right away.
Don't even
started the business right away.
Talk about that, because it's so annoying when you are in a job, when you are at a job, and then your manager and your supervisor is like, they have no high school degree, and they are boss over you, and then you're like, I have a master's degree, I have a degree, and here you are loading me. It's so annoying. It is so annoying.
It's such a reality. You're fine. It's such a reality check. And I think the more that we can do to educate our parents, right, who have kids coming up under them, to let them know that this is really, really what's going on in the workplace. And so, not to say your child shouldn't get a degree, but it should be done very wisely, and it should be a degree that's actually going to, make something when they come out of it, a job, a career, education that will help them to start a career as soon as they come out, right? So anyways.
Yeah, especially we younger generation, we younger adults who are going to become parents, we don't want to follow the path that our parents followed. Not saying that their path is bad, but we want to define our own generation, in the sense that once we see that a child is doing good in this particular thing, it doesn't matter if it's football, it doesn't matter if it's dancing, just go with the flow, let the child grow in it. Don't be rigid and say that the child has to be a doctor, has to be a lawyer, has to be this, has to be that. So moving on, Miss Eunice, can one serve God while in school, or should one just focus on one career? Because you see, majority of all these younger ones, when they get to school, they don't have time for Bible study. They don't have time for God. They don't even want to have anything to do with with God anymore. And all they're doing is just studying and studying, or maybe hanging out with friends. So can one serve God while in school?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So absolutely the answer is yes. I mean, there are people who go to school full time and have a part-time job or have a full-time job. And so there's a lot of room for an individual to prioritize things that are important, and for them to balance their time so that they can, be able to do all the things that they need to do or that they desire to do. Someone who's in school should understand how to best utilize their time.
Mm-hmm.
That's a prime time to make sure that you are learning time management, how to teach yourself to work within the bounds of the time that you have and get things done in the time that you do have. So making good use of class time, of your study time, of your sleep, of your relaxing time. And if you're doing all those things and you prioritize God, with all those things, you will have enough time to, do all those things and to still be successful in school.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. That is very good. So yes, one can still serve God while you are in school. And so once you're in school and then first year, second year, third year, fourth year, um, how important is internship? For me, I don't when I was in school, I didn't really know the importance of internship, and that is something that I don't want anybody else to make a mistake on. So that's your question, not my question. But anyway, I just wanted to tell us and tell the younger ones out there how important is internship, and then if you don't mind, explain what internship means to those who don't have the idea.
Okay, so internship is basically the practicum to your education. It's where you take what you've been learning in the textbooks and in classroom and you go and apply it or practice it in the real life world. So for instance, if you are just using nursing as an example, you've been studying, you've done trials in the classroom, you've done tests and exams, and then you go for an internship where you actually get to practice those skills in the real corporate world or nursing world. Mm-hmm. And so an internship is like the practical part of your education. I would say that it is the most important part of your education. You can study all the books in the world. If you have never put your hands on it, if you have never touched it, felt it, experienced it, gone through it, most corporate or most organizations in our world today will not hire you for the job that you should have without some level of experience. I'm talking even the most basic entry level jobs. They want you to have something before that job. And, some people get hung up in, well, I can't find an internship in my field or my career, or I can't find, there's nothing out there. I would say get some experience in something, anything, whatever it is. If you have to go to Walmart, if you have to go to, any kind of, retail store to get experience, that is still better than nothing. It is that important, it's that critical to get hands-on experience so that when you do graduate and you're up for your big, person job, your big girl, boy job, that they see that you have something that you have been able to test yourself at. You've been able to gain real world experience and understand how to operate within the context of an organization. And so it gives you the ability to test yourself, and also talking about internships now, it gives you the ability to test yourself at that career and the ability to also, understand what it's like to do that job. So that is a point at which was this the right decision? Did I make the right choice? Or do I need to start rethinking my strategy and figure out another career path? Because now I've done this thing. And you should be asking yourself at that point, is this what I thought it would be, right? Is this thing that I've been putting my hands at what I thought it would be. And can I see myself doing this day in and day out, like 4 years? Can I see myself going to work every day doing the same thing, right? Or similar things? And am I passionate about this? Do I like it? Do I enjoy it? Do I really enjoy it? Because sometimes you can think that you like something and then you get into the real world and you're like, this was not what I thought it would be. Right. So are you passionate about it? Do you like it? And was this really what I expected it to be? And again, that is, and you can do internships as early as sophomore year, junior year, or senior year in college. Those are the opportunities that you get to see the real world and how it applies to what you're studying, what the books say versus what it is like in real life. So it's a really, really important part of your education. I would say the most important factor, you want to make sure that you have, more than one internship if you can. And if you do internships, also do summer jobs. Those are very helpful as well. The more experience you have, the better off you'll be when you finish and graduate from school.
Wow, thank you. That is one thing that I wish I had known when I was in school, that I did not know that well. So that really kind of impacted me in a way. So I wouldn't want anybody else to make the same mistake that I made. So yes, internship is very important. And how can one prepare for interview? And I know that you're a financial coach, and this is your passion. This is what you do. So how can one prepare for an interview? So and what are the things to also expect at the interview?
Right. Okay. So the first thing I would say is, especially if you've never really interviewed before, or maybe this is a different career for you that you're going into, you want to write out your story. So how it is that you ended up at the place that you're applying to, or for the job or career that you're applying to. Write out your story. And why I say write it out versus just, talk about it or think about it. Writing it out gives you a chance to become familiar with what it is that you've done along the way to get you to where you are at this point, and also to put it in a way that highlights what you want the company to know. So you have the opportunity to sit down, to think through, to put it into words exactly how you want it to be, to frame it in a way that is clear, concise, and also in the best light according to where you're going. So that's probably the first thing that you do. You write out your story. Talk about the things that were meaningful to you. Talk about the things that maybe impacted you, how you overcame those things, why you're interested in where you're interested, all those things. Just write out your full story. And basically that will set you up for any interview question that's asked of you. And so that kind of gives you the foundation or the fundamentals of answering your questions. The next thing I would say is practice interview questions. So a lot of employers today are using what's known as the STAR method. So it's situation, task, the action, and the result. So they want you to talk about, or they want you to give them the answer using that method to answer. So for instance, the situation, maybe I was in a meeting and my manager asked me to take notes, right? That was a task. And so I pulled up PowerPoint or Word or PowerPoint or whatever, and I took notes for the meeting. And because of my notes, that was the action. I took notes for the meeting, and because of my notes, our team was able to quickly refer back to them in the next meeting, and it helped keep us on track so that we're not wasting time. That was the result, right? So right there, I showed how my actions benefited the team and benefited the organization because we stopped wasting time. And I was very clear and concise. I didn't talk about how great my team was, or I didn't talk about, how long the meeting was. I didn't talk about all these different things, but I was straight to the point. And so a lot of organizations today are using that method. And even if they don't say that they're using that method, it's a great way to prepare your answers to questions so that you're calling out the context of your answer, you're giving them what the assignment was, or even what the problem was. What was the issue that you had to deal with? And then what was the action you took? What did you personally do to change or impact the problem? And then you always, always, always want to highlight your results. How did what you do or what you did benefit the team, benefit the organization, benefit the industry? Talk about your results. Do not be afraid to talk about how you impacted the bottom line. It is so critical, so important. It shows the interviewer that you add value, that you are above the rest. Some people like kind of shy away, or I don't want to talk about, how good I am, but it is absolutely important. An interview is the best time to talk about your results. And that being said, when you're writing out your story, you want to write out all of your results, all the things that you've done that are really amazing, all the things that you've done that impacted the company's bottom line, all the things that you've done that made a difference for your team, for your boss, for your organization, for your industry. So you want to talk about those things. And then I would say get familiar about your industry or your organization. So you want to do this. You want to talk to people in that industry, in that organization. Get familiar, ask them questions, understand the problems that they're facing, understand the issues that are going on, and then find out how your talents, how your skills, how your personality, how your education can help solve that problem. Every organization is trying to solve a problem. And so when you can help them solve a problem, they want you, right? So, talk to people about what the problems that they're facing and how you can help them solve it, and be able to communicate that effectively. That goes back to writing it down so that you've rehearsed it, you've practiced it, you've made it concise, and it's not just something that you're thinking of on the fly. And then I would say lastly, go to career fairs, network. Going to career fairs and networking gives you the opportunity to practice showing off who you are, and not showing off in a bad way, but like letting people see who you are, how you interact, what your personality is like, and doing it and communicating it effectively, because you're having to move quickly, you're having to, go from one conversation to the other. And so those are all the different ways I would say to prepare for an interview, especially if you're just starting out. Those are things that you should definitely be doing going into interviewing.
Well, thank you so much for that. If you do have any questions, you can always reach out to her directly. Just let me know, or just comment below, and I will notify her, and send you her contact information, and then we can answer questions. Whatever questions that you have for her. She is a coach, and she knows a lot about this stuff. She has helped several people, and I know that she's open to be a blessing and also to help you as well. All right. After the interview, right? Majority of this employer will ask you, do you have any questions for me? Is it okay to ask them questions all the time? Like, can one ask them questions after the interview has been conducted? And what kind of question would you advise one to ask? That is, if it's okay to ask, the questions.
You always want to ask questions. Always, 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 always. Have 10 questions prepared, even if you only get to ask one or two. Always.
So basically, you're saying that it is that one must always ask questions after the interview.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So you always want to ask, even if they don't say, do you have any questions for me? You want to volunteer and say, oh, I have a couple questions for you. And for a couple of reasons. Number one, it lets them know that you're not just there to be hired or fired. You are there as a very able participant in that conversation. And so it gives you a leg up in terms of other candidates who maybe have just said, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. And, they're there and then they'll do whatever you say, right? You are somebody who has your own, thoughts, you have your own, you have wisdom, you have, insight. And so you want to bring something to the table. It shows them that you're more than prepared, right? So you do want to ask questions, even if they don't offer and say, do you have any questions for me? Because another reason why you're doing this is there's no interview on earth that can cover everything about the organization, everything about the company, everything about the team that you're going to join, everything about their culture. There's no interview. So you want to have something to prepare to show them that you are interested in engaging with them one-on-one. Like you have an interest in them just like they have an interest in you. Mm-hmm. And so you want to make sure that you ask questions that are smart, that are thought through, questions that maybe are not on the website or that can't be easily found, questions about the team, questions about how your work is going to be evaluated, questions about the organization, questions about the challenges that they're facing.
So sorry to cut you short. When you say about the team and then also about the organization, you need to don't forget the fact that you're new to this company. You don't have any idea what the company is about, and you're just there for an interview. So how will question be asked about the team and about the organization if you're new to know?
Absolutely. Okay, so part of your interview prep should be getting to know that company, right? Mm-hmm. What do they do? What do they stand for? What part of the organization are you going to be a part of? Usually you're going through a screening before you get to that point. And you can ask the HR person, the person that's screening you, questions as well, like what team is this? What part of the organization is this? How big is the team? You can ask them, any of those questions. They should be able to give you a straight answers, right? So that will build you up to know kind of what you're walking into. And so when you get to the real interview with the hiring manager, you want to ask them about the team. What kind of team culture do you have? What are some of the things that the organization has really been driving this year? What are some of the results that your team is responsible for? Those are totally in the scope of an interview and gives, again, it shows the interviewer that you are a participant in this. Like you are really interested in exactly what is happening here. You're not just there to, have a job. It shows them that you're really interested. So, when you start asking these questions, they're like, oh, she asked about the team. Oh, she cares about, what's happening. She cares about my challenges. She cares about what's stressing our team out. Great. Like we want somebody who cares about that because they're going to be coming in and helping us solve the problem. And if they can't think to ask about what the issues are and they can't then intelligently discuss, well, here's how I could potentially help with that issue, then why am I hiring them, right? That's from the interviewer's perspective. So not only do you ask the questions, but you make it a conversation point, right? So if you asked, hey, what's the culture of this organization? And they said, oh, we're really great at having barbecues, right? Every other, month or something like that. And you say, great. I really enjoy barbecuing. I was, every time that we have a party, I am the grill master. People know me for my barbecuing skills. I would love to barbecue for y'all. That shows them that you, at a specific point in the future, you really want to be connected with them, right? So make it a conversation point. If you ask them, hey, what challenges do you have? And they said, we are really having problems with waste in terms of our time management. You can say, man, I've really been working on time management as an undergrad, right? I do all these different things and I make time, effectively for, X, Y, and Z. And I have learned to really manage time. I would love to try to help you in terms of that, time management. I think I have the skills and here's what I've done in the past to show those skills, right? So I would just say, oh, I can really help you with that, right? But be able to connect with them and explain how your skills and your experience and your expertise and your diligence, your passion, your desire for that career translate into solving a problem for them. So all of those things are part of, at the end of the interview, making sure that you don't just leave it, as, okay, well, they asked me questions and I answered all their questions. I hope that's okay. You can say, do you have any other questions for me? Is there anything that you have that I haven't been able to answer satisfactory? So they
One can
have a
ask them
chance to
that question.
say it again.
Can one ask them that question? Is
Yes.
there anything?
Yes. Yes. Is there anything that I haven't been able to answer satisfactory for you, right? And they should be able to say, no, I think you've answered everything great, which gives you a sense of where they are. Or they'll say, well, we still really question why you have a gap here. Great, let me explain that for you, right? So it gives you a chance to make sure that you've really engaged with them. And a lot of people don't ask questions, or if they do, they just ask a question to ask, like, oh, what are your benefits, right? And maybe those benefits are online. Maybe they're not, but the way that they ask the question is like, not too engaging. So you want to be the one that makes it a conversation, a two-way street, showing them that they, have something to give you, but you also have something to give them.
So guys, she is very loaded. So any question you have regarding interview, regarding career, regarding internship or job, just you can always reach out to her. So thank you so much. Now our last question: you're in the professional world, making money or not, or maybe you're even at a job that you're not even satisfied at, or you're at a job and you're happy with the job, you're happy with the pay, and you're satisfied with with your job. Your co-workers treat you well, and your manager and your boss or whatever. The point is, you are satisfied with the job. Can you please tell us, is it okay to continue learning on the job, or can one just say, oh, thank you, Jesus, I've got a job, and just relax? Oh, I've got a job. Or, is that okay? Or can one, still learn and, still acquire more skills?
So great question. So you never want to relax on the job. You should always, always, always stay learning. Even when you retire, you should always be learning. People that relax or they stop learning become obsolete like that. And more so now today that technology is such a huge part of everybody's life, especially on the jobs. It is very easy to become obsolete. So you want to keep learning. If you're, for instance, like a stay-at-home mom, let's say you took a break for your career for whatever reason, not a stay-at-home mom, but you took a break from your career for whatever reason, you want to keep learning, keep engaged with what's going on in the world, because you can become obsolete like that. And if you become obsolete, you have to start from scratch, right? You have to start all over. So you want to keep learning. Now, there are some career paths that are very heavy in certification renewals. So like, for instance, computer science, if you go out into the tech world, you have to keep learning in order to just keep your job, right? So those fields, by the nature of their field, they will continue to learn if they want to keep their jobs. But there are other fields, for instance, that are maybe not so certification driven. And then it becomes a little bit more difficult to, or maybe not difficult, but it becomes more on you as an individual to keep learning. Some of that learning may be done literally on the job. So you ask for an opportunity to shadow a different department, or you ask for an opportunity to, learn, work beside somebody so that you can like kind of see what they're doing. You're doing something different. You kind of see what they're doing. Or it can come in the form of getting a certification on top of what you're doing. So let's say you're a project manager. You can go for PMP, or you can go for program management, not just project management, right? So there's different things that you can do to stay on top of your current career or grow into different levels of your career. But whatever you're doing, you want to make sure that you keep on learning, keep on exploring. You should, in this day and age, you should never really be in a job for more than a year and a half, 2 years without picking up some other skill, right? So by a year doing the same job, you should have that mastered. And then it becomes, okay, what else can I learn in this organization that will help me to move up, to move on, to get promoted? Or even if you have to move out to another organization that will help you have a leg up when you do make that transition. And so you want to make sure that you continue to learn. If you relax, you will be seen as uninterested or not engaged. And both of those make you a target to be eliminated, right? So some organizations, they have like a pyramid kind of thing going. And if you're uninterested, you're just average, you're just on par, you're not really making any movement, you're not really adding value, you get eliminated. So you want to make sure that you are not coming off as uninterested or unengaged. Employers want to see that the people that they hire are passionate, that they're adding value, that they have something to bring to the table, that they're solving problems, right? That they're identifying problems and then solving problems, or bringing the people together that are necessary in order to solve that problem. So continue to learn, continue to stay engaged, whatever that looks like for you, whether it's on the job or outside the job. Do what you have to do to stay relevant.
Wow, I like that. Do what you have to do in order for you to stay relevant. That is that. In fact, if you do not learn anything from all that we've been saying, this last statement is very important. Do whatever you have to do in order for you to stay relevant. I really like that. Again, she's Eunice, and she's a financial coach. So if you have any question, you can follow her on Facebook. Her name is Eunice Osaigbovo on Facebook. She also has a LinkedIn page, and it's also Eunice Osaigbovo. She has Instagram, and then you can also follow her on Instagram. Now, if you're a subscriber to my channel and you watch this video and you do want to reach out to her, you will get a discount. Just let her know that you know her, or you're coming to her because of this interview. And then there you go. And then that's it. As my usual practice, I didn't do that at the beginning, but we're going to do this at the end. I love singing. I want you to give the viewers, one of your favorite songs. Just sing, just whatever song. Yes, I'm beginning you on the spot.
Jesus loves me, this I know, for the Bible tells me so. He shed his blood and died on Calvary. He shed his blood and died for me. I'll give you another one. Isaiah heard the voice of the Lord, and he said, "Here am I, send me."